The feeder is full, but the first movement is not at the feeder. Several small birds are already gathered where a human might not look. From the bush, the feeder looks close, but the open gap looks long. To a small bird, food may come second. The safe route comes first. From the porch, the yard looks generous and simple. The clue may be a tiny foot gripping a twig before any bird flies. One bird leans out, but the open space stops it. The food is easy to see, but easy to reach is not the same thing. One bird watches the sky, one watches the feeder, and one watches the others. The real path is not straight from sky to seed. It bends through shelter. When the first bird finally moves, it moves fast and low. Even on the feeder, the bird keeps one eye on the bush. A tiny shift in the yard can send the bird back to cover. The bird does not fly away from the yard. It flies back to the bush. The feeder gives food, but the bush gives the bird a way to try. The next clue is how long the birds wait before the first crossing. A simple porch step can reset the whole route. A bird inside cover may be watching the house more than the food. One bird's retreat can change every other bird's decision. Watch the order: bush, scan, dash, feed, retreat. Another pressure may sit behind the feeder, a bright window line. From a small bird's angle, the window can look like more trees. The bird does not choose the shortest way. It chooses the side with cover. The feeder pulls the bird forward, but the bush keeps the bird willing to try. The human may refill the feeder without ever seeing the waiting room beside it. After the porch goes quiet, the bush begins to move again. Food quality matters too, but birds still check safety first. A second bird may wait for proof from the first. When too many birds gather on the exposed feeder, retreat becomes even more important. The bush is not where the birds hide from the feeder. It is how they reach it. In morning light, the same gap can look even brighter and more exposed. The bird edges along shade before attempting the gap. Even a warm morning can change how a small bird holds its body. The bird does not linger in the sun longer than it has to. A human may expect birds to stay at the feeder, but the birds keep using the bush. The lawn is not empty to a bird. It is a place nowhere to disappear. From ground level, the open lawn looks much larger. Instead of crossing the center, some birds trace the edge of the yard. A cautious bird often makes itself small before crossing. The safest looking path may be the one with the most stopping points. Wind can make the open crossing feel even less predictable. A small bird may wait for the feeder to stop moving before it commits. The perch may be moving more than a human notices from inside. When the motion settles, the bird finally takes the chance. Sometimes the issue is not the feeder, but the space and movement around it. After rain, the bush may become both shelter and a wet doorway. Wet seed may make the feeder less inviting, even when it looks full. Sometimes the bird reaches the feeder and still decides not to use it. From inside, the feeder may look fine because the problem is hidden at the port. The bush helps birds handle more than one problem at once. Sometimes the bird checks water and cover before returning to food. Even while drinking, the bird keeps checking the open yard. A clean resource can still be avoided if it sits too far from cover. The story is not about panic. It is about small choices before anything dramatic happens. Different birds may use the same cover in different ways. A thin perch near food is not the same as dense cover. A bird may land on a bare branch, scan once, and abandon it. From a bare perch, the bird is visible from every side. Inside dense leaves, the bird can see out without standing fully in the open. The best waiting place is not always closest to the feeder. It is the place that lets a bird watch, hide, and leave. Later in the day, the same feeder can feel different again. The open space around food can become a heat zone. In heat, a bird may stay near food but delay the crossing. When the shadow stretches closer to the feeder, the first bird moves. A viewer may think the birds suddenly arrived, but they were waiting all along. Sound and vibration from nearby routines can change the rhythm too. In the bush, stillness can be the safest choice. The feeder can be full and untouched for reasons that have nothing to do with the seed. When the routine fades, the first clue is not flight. It is one head appearing. The same route can be opened or closed by light, weather, food condition, and routine. Helping does not mean making birds come closer. It can mean making the route less exposed. A predictable routine gives birds a chance to learn the yard rhythm. A small natural cover point can make the route feel less empty. The first test may be only a pause, not immediate trust. The change is small to a human, but big in the bird's map. Safer feeding also means thinking about what sits behind or beside the route. From the bush side, the feeder is still visible, but the confusing reflection is less dominant. A clean port removes one pressure, but birds still use cover to decide. The birds may not become fearless, but the route can become easier to use. The goal is not to remove every risk. It is to give birds safer choices. For bird, the yard is a series of decisions made in seconds. The first move is shorter now. A safer route may show up as a slightly calmer body. Then comes the second short move to the feeder. Even with a better route, the bird still returns to cover. One safe trip can make the next bird willing to test the same path. Some birds may still wait, and that is part of the story too. A cautious bird may wait until the feeder is less crowded. Tomorrow, watch the bush before watching the feeder. Once you see the bush as part of the feeder, the whole yard changes. Near evening, birds may become even more careful with each trip. The pauses are shorter, but the order is still the same. In lower light, every small movement seems to matter more. More birds may gather in cover before making the last few trips. The same bush can mean shade at noon and safety at dusk. When the route no longer feels readable, the feeder may be left full. One last bird looks toward the feeder, then stays under leaves. The same place that started the feeding route may end the day as shelter. A quiet human routine can leave the yard to the birds. All day, the pattern was there. Cover first, food second, retreat always. In your own yard, the first clue may be a bush that seems quiet. Look for leaves moving before the feeder moves. Look for the scan pause before the dash. Look for a bird that starts forward, then slips back into cover. Look where the bird goes after the feeder, not only where it lands. If birds wait in bushes, it does not mean they dislike your feeder. Birds may use the route more when the human stays predictable and farther away. A safer route should not force birds into an unfamiliar close corner overnight. The better change may be to keep the route familiar and add safer stopping points. Watch first, then make small changes that keep birds in control. Now the same full feeder tells a different story. The feeder matters, but it is not alone. Once you know the pattern, a single moving leaf can feel like the start of the story. Watching quietly from farther away lets the pattern continue. The bird still decides when to go. The best outcome may look simple: a short, safe trip and a quick return. When the route feels usable, the whole flock may move with less confusion. The eye line tells the story: cover, route, food, cover. By the end, the bush is no longer background. The story was never feeder or no feeder. It was whether the bird had a safe way to use it. A bird that waits in a bush may not be afraid of your yard. It may be reading it. The next time your feeder looks quiet, check the nearest cover. The clue may be a leaf tremble, a scan pause, or a quick retreat. It may be a hedge, a shrub, a vine tangle, or one dense corner. A helpful yard gives food, cover, clean access, and room for bird to decide. The bush was not background. It was the doorway. When the route feels readable, the bird can make one more small trip. Then the yard goes quiet again. But now the quiet means something different. Maybe you have seen this pattern already. Birds waiting in cover before they visit the feeder. Do birds in your yard wait in bushes before visiting the feeder?